Let me read out some of the figures, because what we have was that the results before that was that the APC had 465,453. The PDP had 469,512. The NNP had 31,057. PRP had 45,735. So the returning officer, Kerry Mohammed, had to declare it inconclusive.
There is an unfortunate thing that I heard that he said that he did not, that even if they announce the results, to me, the first thing would have been to have announced all results, then the calculations will be made, then we'll now know where it falls in. Because now people will be guessing. He knows and they know, those who are involved know, but the world needs to know. That's why we'll now say, yes, indeed, their judgment is indeed right or wrong. Not for them to put us guessing. And to me, I don't think that should be. But be that as it may, indeed, that's the law. But what I would have expected is that, indeed, it is made open so that there won't be room for speculations.
What could he be trying to avoid by not announcing all results first?
Then again, you see, that's why we are saying that indeed the next level of our electoral process, we have to ensure that less intervention by human beings, that it should be online real time. And when these are done, then definitely intervention by human beings who are subject to being sentimental, who are seen to be to take side, will be out of it. And at the end of the day, we'll find out that things are, because for me now, I don't know why, because the rule is that you first of all make all the announcements, then we now say, okay, we subtract. You call in the statistician who will do the necessary subtraction. We'll know that, okay, the total number, the gap between the number of votes cast and the difference between the winner is so significant as to alter the result one way or the other. Not that you just say that this is, the discretion is not given that way. The law does not give that discretion not to announce. There must be an announcement. Okay, so I suspect that there's something wrong somewhere there.
For the one in Imo, I don't know if you can see those images, because that was a forced scenario. So I don't know what to call them, thugs now, but the agents, agents could be anybody, as long as they were present there. They were agents of distortion who got in there and distorted the proceedings. Mr. Vincent, if you could take a look at those images now, because while the coalition was going on, they had announced some results, but I think they got to Idato South, and at some point, this then happened. So while it happened, of course, you get to see when it progresses, the images. So they then disrupted the process. So in this particular case, because you expect that security agencies were supposed to be either within or close by, as it were, to ensure that anyone, in fact, there is one, as you can see in there.
There are 2 or 3, I saw.
So the question then is, in this kind of case, I mean, electoral offenses, cases concerning electoral offense could be made in this particular scenario. And then there are footages of who was doing what in this case. So shouldn't we have heard the police declare somebody wanted or arrests made, or they quickly notify that arrests have been made concerning this scenario? And shouldn't they be telling us what to do next? Or shouldn't the police be providing more security so that they can continue the process? So what should happen in this case?
Strongly, and I would say it again, I think it's often trumped that the narrative of election in this country is basically wrong, and in totality, it's amazing how over time we had not seemed to learn. If you go back to history of election in this country, go back to the 50s, see the acrimonies that followed the election. Then we moved on to the 70s, 79 election. It was the same acrimony. Then we moved on to the 1983, which enabled the military to come in, and then we moved on over and over.
Is it the people that are refusing to learn, or is it the politicians that are refusing to let this process advance beyond what it is?
Wicked question.
I think it's a combination of many things. The mentality of governance is not entrenched. What we see is rulership, not not service. Because why would you always do this? It's almost like there is a circle of people who are bent on always frustrating the process. What has happened there? I mean, you can see, and that's why I said that not just about the policing or the militarization or whatever. It's about the people themselves, the political actors and the gladiators, until we get to the time when we start saying, now look, this is, okay, it's a 4-year cycle.
Yeah, but are they doing that because they feel they can, or because they feel they can get away with it?
I think because look, one of the things that people tell about law is not just about the rules, right? It's not about, okay, this, don't do it on them. Law consists basically, the features of law, the body of rules which are designed to regulate conduct, which, obedience is punished, and when there's obedience, there's a sanction. We don't seem to have a regime of proper sanctioning or proper monitoring, and there are schools of thought about what the law is. And what we're seeing basically is that people found it convenient. How can you be on national camera? There are a battery of cameras there, and you have the boldness to start disrupting the process for whatever reason. So I think the number one, the security architecture is very, very lousy. Also, the fact that people seem to think that there is no process of, prosecution.
But where do we get it? Where did we get? Because first of all, the president at the time has said, look, he wants Nigerians to be respected. Yeah. People should go out there and cast their votes, yeah, and ensure things are done properly. Then the IGP, the acting IGP, they have the special election monitoring team, yeah, to ensure that things go wrong. He has said anyone who goes out there and tries to snatch ballot box or make anyone or threaten anyone, let him believe his life is unsafe, will be dealt with. Now, if those high-ranking persons, including the Chief of Army Staff, also spoke about this matter, so if all of those persons have spoken, and then you still find this going on.
Exactly. Chamberlain, exactly what I'm saying is that pardon me to say, we kind of have a warped mentality about what politics is about.
Should heads roll in this case?
Certainly.
Security agencies, for instance.
Certainly. Or just that probably the next narrative of election that we should be looking at has to do with, at what point in time do you even allow people, who are the people that you allow to come in? And when they come into that collation center, like I was saying, what kind of people are allowed to come in, and what are the commitments you make? And probably there should be lesser people.
There are going to be a lot of people, because you have 91 political parties at least running for the president on to 70.
Probably there should be like bonds given.
But those people can be identified.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
So why wasn't any arrest made when disruptions were going on?
There should be arrest made.
And there are police officers. There are security personnel in that footage that you saw. Police there, and then I think I also saw some NSCDC folks and all of that. What is your take on what happened in Imo, and how do you think it should be addressed?
I think we do have a serious problem of electoral impunity in this country. In previous elections, there has never been any evidence that anybody has actually been brought to book, particularly the politically exposed persons. And when there is actually no accountability, you can expect that situations like this will continue to prevail. So what you saw actually in Imo was, in fact, the level of brigandage experienced in Imo in these elections is almost comparable, or if not even at par or more than Rivers, where we are all shouting and talking about really. What happened? There should be, in fact, maybe there should even be a whole new elections conducted in that state, because the challenges experienced.
Let me quickly follow up on that. There were, before the election in Rivers and Imo, there are certain political actors who were mentioned as, okay, there are information available that says, okay, this guy is in this camp, this guy is in this camp, and there's a lot of back and forth between the major political actors in both states. Unfortunately, it didn't seem like any security concern was raised by any of the security apparatus of state. What's your take on that?
It's not like security concerns were raised, not just by the actors, but by stakeholders like ourselves. What happened is most Like maybe the security agencies, I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, seem to have actually looked the other way round. There were 3 scenarios that have played out in all the elections held since February 23. It's either the security agencies are trying to stop the actions of the political talks in thwarting elections, or the second scenario is they are collaborating actively with non-state actors like talks to thwart the elections, or thirdly, they are intimidating, actively participating in thwarting the whole process of elections, intimidating voters, intimidating observers, intimidating journalists. So there is no sense of responsibility. There is no sense of accountability. What only changed during these elections was that maybe the stakeholders in some of the states did not get the kind of backing they got during the February elections. And I don't see where accountability will hold. I don't even see the vote, the sanctity of votes in a place like Imo really holding, as in being said to be a true representation of the people's will, whosoever emerges. Because when we talk about outcomes, we shouldn't always be interested in the outcome of the elections, saying that vote counts. But what about the processes that have led to that declaration of the result? What about the problems that even the election management body itself had to encounter with the collation officers in places like Imo, where they had to continually change those people, and aside from changing them, they kept compromising them. So it's not just the security. The security have looked the other way round in some part of the country, or actively collaborated. And even there is a footage from channels yesterday, even showing the police and the military in a scuffle. Why should that happen in the first instance? They are meant to be collaborators.
You also talked about political impunity. From an observer perspective, what kind of signal does this send to anyone who is an observer, anyone who has no direct interest in this election, whoever wins, other than good governance? What kind of message do you see sending?
I think one is that it makes us to look at unserious people, undemocratic nation in the Committee of Nations. We know what our colleagues tell us, what is actually said about our elections and governance. Still, to most people, election is equated directly with good governance, represents in Nigeria. It's like a banana republic because most of these videos have been shared. But I think most importantly is to the voters. And that is why you have voter apathy. It's not only because of democracy refusing to deliver to the people. It's also because of the fact that the people just feel that their vote will not count. So why do I have to actually go out and vote in the elections? And I think the greatest challenge actually it represents is to the future of democracy and accountability. What has happened in these elections have actually taken us back several years. Post-2015, we were so interested in promoting accountability, democratic accountability, talking to the people about holding their elected officials accountable. In these elections, do you think that the people, the legitimacy of the elected officials will actually hold in the people? There is a pervading sense of despondence. That is what the impunity is actually, that is the direct implication of this electoral impunity.
Okay. Mr. Ogwade, I don't know, let's take this from a whole new, different perspective. The elections between 1999 and 2015 were organized by one political party.
Yes.
This election is the first by the opposition party. General election is the first by the opposition party who is just taking over, so to speak. Could that be a reason for all this?
No, it shouldn't be. My brother has addressed it. My sister has addressed it in Abuja. It's we. But let me just go somewhere. I was thinking that's why all of us are here. Impunity is the issue. When you commit an offense and no punishment, serious punishment is given, then definitely it encourages impunity. And I'll go back to 2015. There's one man called the Rubibi. and I want our attention of all Nigerians. He disrupted the process. That's mutiny. And that's a high-class, treason. And that's something that should have been taken seriously. Not if this government, if it's the PDP government did not take it up, this new government should have taken it up immediately they came up to serve as a deterrent. But it was played down, and here we are. And not only Imo, it happens all over, and that's what they've been doing.
Lagos State.
That's what they've been doing. It comes around because people commit offense. Nobody is punished. You think that people will not want to do it again? Since there is no punishment, it's just like a child. You wake up in the morning or midnight and you find his son in the pot of soup with meat there. You say, "Oh, Junior, well done, eh? Well done, just carry on," and you go and sleep and you leave him. The next day, not only will he just pick a piece of meat, he will take the pot, sit down, balance, and ensure that he finishes. Meanwhile, let's assume that family are planning on that piece of meat.
So you believe that the impunity seems to be going on?
I'm a lawyer, and I go to prisons regularly. I told you the other time in the course of carrying out my activities as an activist. And I found out that it's only the poor that dominate the prison yards. The rich don't go there because they will buy their way. They will deliberately infringe the law. Those people who are there, all the pictures we saw, they are supported, they are encouraged by some big men that, "Don't worry, go do them. We did there for you."
Okay.
Who will go? The dancing bird, they normally say this proverb, that is dancing in the open. There's somebody who is beating the drum for him. Okay. They don't have that strength, that power, that ability. It is because some people say, "Don't worry, we'll settle everything." And it gets settled.
Well, I'm sure we'll still talk a little more about it. But before we go on a break, Mr. Vincent, you were talking about, you were saying the other time that we should be careful how we talk about the involvement of other nations about that. But Mrs. Hassan was just talking the other time about what other observers from other climes are saying about Nigeria. One second. Okay. If perception is reality and we are perceived the way we are being perceived, what does that say about us?
It's certainly unfortunate that we have very bad perception out there about the process so far. And it's not to take away from the fact that it is actually true that the process is largely a faulty process. But, you know, what we are saying is that let's situate the international dimension, international law dimension of this issue, because yes, they're observers, but we know that if there is no perfect electoral system anywhere in the world, Donald Trump is still going through the fact that there's regarded that there was some Russian collusion, as it were. It's still going on process. And even Nigeria, if you had gone there to go and see we're observers, what would our voice have counted? It's just an opinion of this process is not good enough. But you also have to respect international law in terms of sovereignties of nations. You have to understand that aspect. Now, I don't want us to use that as a basis of judgment that is empirical about this. An observer, as it were, also has his own subjective views about what it is. So we don't have to use that as empirical. But what I'm saying, and this is why I'm saying that when they make such allusions about, it's a faulty process, granted that it could be, or it might even be, or it might really be, but let's situate their opinion also in the context of things. Now, going back to the situation of impunity that my sister has also said, and my colleague also said, it's not just because probably a party or a not party. You saw what happened at Okota the other day. The people were actually seen. It's not as if you take that footage and go back again and you can see who they are. So you can see it, you see it almost everywhere. You see it in the PDP control area, you see it in the APC control area. Something has to be done. We have to go back, we have to re-educate ourselves, we have to reorientate ourselves to the extent that, those who ruled yesterday, where are they?